Abroad Pod.
Hello, listener. Thank you so much for joining us on the 26th edition of the Teaching Abroad Pod, coming at you on April 6th, 2022. Due to our new policy, which only allows one British accented person per episode, James is off enjoying some wonderful spring weather this week. So I, Rowan and Alex, will be your host today. And once again, I'm joined by my colleague, Alex, from Job Placement. How are things with you, Alex?
Good. Things are going well. It's not quite as warm and spring-like as I wished it was, but other than that, pretty good. How about you? You look a bit different from the last time I saw you.
Yeah, I'm doing well, but as you have noticed, I'm quite beardless in this episode. I might have shaved it too soon. It's so cold out here in the northeast of the continent. Should I have kept it a bit longer, do you think?
I don't know. I think you're our official podcast groundhog. So you obviously saw spring on the horizon. I'm putting my faith in your good sense of weather forecasting. So the beard's off. It means it's spring.
All right, I'll take it. So I think this cold spell may have actually helped the Canadian men's national team in dominating the poor Jamaican team on a snowy Sunday in Toronto. It only took 36 years, Alex, but Canada is finally going back to the World Cup. Can you believe it?
Wow, 36 years.
Yeah, 1986 was the last time Canada made it. Also, it looks like the typical boss teams of CONCACAF, the United States and Mexico, will be joining them. So the continent should be well represented in balmy Qatar.
Yeah, well, I know our guest today is located in Manchester, England currently, so it's going to be hard for you to not get into more football talk.
I'll try and hold off more football talk for our listeners. Maybe when James is back. But since you mentioned we do have a guest coming up from Manchester, obviously, I was just joking off the top about our accent policy. There is no such policy, but we do, yes, have a wonderful lad coming up from England. He's one of the Job Placement Service's longest standing recruiting contacts, Phil from ESLstarter, who has access to great teaching positions all over the world. But first, a word from our sponsor.
With Oxford Seminars, starting your new career teaching ESL couldn't be easier. Oxford Seminars has trained more than 70,000 teachers over the past 20 years, and you could be next. Their comprehensive 120-hour program starts with live instruction from an experienced ESL teacher, followed by convenient online modules. If your goal is to relocate overseas or even teach from the comfort of your own home, Oxford Seminars' renowned lifetime job placement service will get you where you want to be. Right now, you can get $50 off your Oxford Seminars TEFL course price when paying in full by calling 1-800-779-1779 and giving the code TEACHINGABROADPOD. Visit oxfordseminars.com today to find out more.
We are now very happy to be joined by our guest, Phil Negus, who is one of the founding members of ESLstarter. Having spent several years as an English teacher working with Thai, Taiwanese, and Korean students, Phil decided it was time to help others achieve the dream of teaching English overseas. ESLstarter has been helping place Oxford Seminars graduates in overseas teaching positions for many years, and we're especially grateful to have Phil on the show today. How's it going, Phil?
Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. It's great to be here. And I hope this can be a useful session for your excellent students and graduates. So, yeah, my pleasure to be with you this afternoon or this morning, I guess, for you guys.
Absolutely. So how did you get started in the wonderful world of TEFL?
Started off basically in a completely different career path. I was doing accounting in Manchester. Did that for about 3 or 4 months and really just decided it wasn't for me. I just remember the trudge into the office every Monday morning being something that I really dreaded. So I decided to take a TEFL course, which I took up in Newcastle in the UK for a weekend. And that pretty much set me on the path to teaching abroad. So after that course, I looked for some jobs on the internet. I applied for a job in Thailand and I actually got the job without any interview or any kind of contact with the school apart from an initial sending of the CV. So yeah, I was kind of a little bit flummoxed. I didn't know if it was a real genuine job or if it was, what to expect, but I did accept. And then I got the contract by delivery, which was really exciting. Filled out the details, sent it off, and then went over to teach in Thailand. So yeah, it was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant job. Really enjoyed it. So I would definitely do the same thing again if I had my chance over again.
Did you teach anywhere else besides Thailand, or was Thailand the only spot you taught?
Yeah, I did actually. So I spent 5 years in Thailand, about 2 years altogether in South Korea, and then 1 year teaching in Taiwan as well. So it's just a mix of those countries, and it was kind of a bit of a loop. So I'd do some time in Thailand, then go to Korea, then back to Thailand, then back to Korea, with Taiwan sandwiched in between. So yeah, all very different experiences, but really enjoyable. Usually working with younger students for the most part. So it was very active, very energetic, and it was great to kind of interact with them on a daily basis. It's really a cheerful environment to work in all the schools. I was very lucky, really, with the jobs that I had.
The public school system in Thailand?
Thailand was public schools. Yeah, that's right. So it was really, really large classes, sometimes about 45 to 50 students in a class, which for the first job was quite overwhelming because there was no training, basically. It was just kind of, this is your classroom, get in there and start teaching. So it was, the first few lessons, I'm not going to lie, were quite difficult, really quite challenging. But then once I got a couple of weeks in and got used to it, it was great. And you kind of got to know what the students liked, what they wanted from their class. Lots of games, lots of energetic activities to keep them moving around. So that was really good. And then the teaching in Korea was a little bit different. It was a lot smaller classes with private schools, so sometimes just 1-to-1 lessons, sometimes 1 to 10 lessons, so it was a lot smaller groups, but also really good, and obviously could get to know the students better in those more intimate settings.
Well, it was quite a few years in Thailand. What would you say is like the highlight for you, or a couple of highlights of living there?
Yeah, I mean, I just absolutely loved the weekends in Thailand, kind of going off to the beach for the weekend, or, going to Bangkok for the weekend, because I was placed in a town called Panat Nakhon, which was a little bit outside Bangkok, but it was also, you get to one of the islands quite easily at the weekend. So I just love the culture and the weather and things, just the constant sunshine and relaxed way of life. So it really, really suited me, actually.
And so how did you make the move into international teacher recruiting? Did you move into that after your overseas teaching time?
Yeah, so I was teaching in Thailand, actually, and the principal of the school at the time asked me to find a couple of teachers to come in to replace myself and my wife, who were teaching at the school. So we did a little bit of promotion on the internet. We actually found 2 teachers to come and take those roles on. And that just gave us the idea to kind of contact a few private schools in Korea. So I think we emailed about 300 schools asking them if they needed teachers, and we got a few replies. So we just started it from there, really, just getting teachers in. And then we actually went to Korea to bid for the government school contract with EPIC, the public schools. And we won that contract, which was really good for us, and that kind of set us off on the recruitment side of things and helped us to build the business, really. So yeah, we were again quite lucky that we were in the right place, really, with EPIC, and we managed to get that contract. But it's been really enjoyable as well, the recruiting as opposed to the teaching, kind of a different way of being involved, I guess.
EPIC certainly has made it more difficult to get that recruitment contract over the years, haven't they?
Yeah, I think it's quite a very, very competitive contract, I think. So, and I think obviously having to bid for it each year is something that, it's quite a nerve-wracking time, I guess, if you're an agency and if that's one of the main parts of your business. Obviously, it's something that you really want to go well, but it's very difficult to say how it's going to go, but we've been fortunate. We've worked with EPIC for a long time, so I think they know that we know how to recruit teachers for them, and we work really closely with the teachers. We know the process really well. So yeah, so it's been a great contract for us, and fortunately all the teachers who go there tend to love it. I think the public school jobs in Korea are really good positions. they do get the support of a co-teacher. They also have quite a nice schedule of about 22 lessons a week. So it's plenty of time for lesson planning, and it's not too much of an overwhelming teaching schedule, I think. So it's a good one for first-time teachers to do.
Yeah, my wife was actually an EPIC teacher when she went to Korea, and had nothing but good things to say about the support from co-teachers and everything from classroom management to, around town, where to find groceries and this and that.
Right. Which part of Korea was she teaching in?
She was in Nonsan in Cheongnam province.
Okay. Yeah, I've not been to that province, but I think it's all great, isn't it? It's such a beautiful country to live and teach in.
Absolutely. So I know you recruit teachers for positions in many different countries. Are there any differences you've noticed in how teacher hiring is done in different TEFL markets?
At the moment, I think it's online tends to be one of the really major recruitment things that we work in, that area. So obviously with online, it tends to be a lot higher volume of people looking for jobs. So it's a little bit quicker recruitment and application process. But we did work with the government schools in Colombia and also in Ecuador, which is through 2 Ministry of Education projects to get bilingualism among the young learners in those countries. So I think broadly speaking, it's quite a similar process really of, kind of having the web interviews, preparing the initial documents, and then any visa applications that need to be done as part of the process as well for after the interview. Some countries tend to be a bit more involved than others. I think Korea is definitely one of those that is probably at the top end of, administration for the teachers. There's a lot of documents to get ready. So that is one of the programs that we always advise people to make a start on that as early as possible, just so that they can be on it with the documents, which is a good way to ensuring they get the place that they want, really. But yeah, I think really it's, just kind of giving yourself a good few months lead time just to get prepared, get ready for the interview, and have the documents processing as well throughout the application.
We really try and reinforce that as well with our course graduates who want to go to Korea. Like, if you want to be seriously considered, you should have your criminal record check ready. You should have your bachelor's degree copy ready. The schools really want to see you ready to go in short notice.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the culture in Korea, isn't it? Get everything done as quickly as possible. No time for waiting or delays. So yeah, absolutely. Just getting on with the documents and being ready, and just kind of being on the application as much as possible is the best way for Korea. Especially with a process like EPIC, where they have about 400 or 500 jobs each semester and thousands of applications. So if you're kind of thinking of that as a funnel of people trying to get those 400, 500 positions.
I remember it used to be about 2,000 teachers they were hiring for EPIC. So I guess it's gotten a bit smaller over the years.
Yeah, I think there was some times when it was really, really high numbers. Recently, it's been about 400 to 500 positions that have been
more competitive even than it used to be.
I guess it is. Yeah, I think it is. So, and again, it's just a case of having everything ready and trying to make sure that all the documents are prepared correctly for that process, with recommendation letters and an up-to-date criminal record check and all the rest of it. So, but again, that's something that we can advise teachers on as well if they're applying for EPIC.
In addition to getting your documents ready ahead of time, do you have any other advice or tips that you generally give to teachers when they're applying?
Yeah, so I think really just with the interview process, so we try to give them a bit of an idea of what to expect, some of the questions that they would expect on the interview, and also their lesson plan as well, which is part of the application that they need to do. So, a lot of the teachers might be first-time teachers or not had any experience of South Korea and South Korean culture. So we try to just help them prepare for that, make sure that they kind of understand what it's like to live in Korea and what the teaching system is like, what the students are like. And we just tell them to be curious, to be energetic during the interview, just to also have questions ready to ask if they need to for any clarification. And also, with the lesson plan, we try to give them a bit of an idea of how to build a good lesson plan that's going to work in a kind of Korean classroom, really, so that they've got that structure and they might need to follow up on that during the interview as well. So we try to ensure that they're ready to explain what they've written about to the interviewer and make sure that they're as well prepared as possible beforehand.
So there really are a lot of benefits for getting the assistance of a recruiter with your application, as opposed to just applying directly to a program like that in terms of little things to watch for.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well, there's no fee for using a recruitment agency. It's free support, and we've obviously had a lot of experience working with Epic. We've placed about over 1,000 teachers onto that program since we started working with them. So yeah, we can just assist, make sure that all the documents are prepared correctly, that all the recommendations are done correctly, and ink signed, and all the rest of it that needs to be done. So it's definitely worth, if you want that support with an application, I think teachers, it's worth considering going through an agency.
Have you noticed any typical occurrences that make applications unsuccessful? Common mistakes teachers make during their job applications or anything like that?
I think that, it used to be the case that, it's really just a case of trying to get the documents in as quickly as possible. And sometimes teachers would miss the boat because they're just a bit delayed in getting things ready. By the time they sent them, the program was full for the semester. So I think that's one of the things that, is just getting everything ready in advance prior to the interview, if possible. And then interviews, it's not always easy to see what's going to happen during the interview. Sometimes we're quite surprised by candidates who fail the interview. We thought, this candidate is guaranteed to pass it, and then they end up failing. So it's not always easy to tell what's going to happen with the interview. But I think generally speaking, they're obviously looking for a passion for working with people, for exploring a different culture, teaching and being able to get in the classroom and to inspire the students. So it really is a case of trying to get that across during the interview and expanding on answers, and not just kind of yes, no answers, and keeping things very short. Try to obviously elaborate and back up any points that are given during the questions.
I feel like we can't get through a whole episode without bringing up the pandemic at some point. So what about doing a job during COVID? Was it an interesting time, a challenging time?
Yeah, very depressing time, actually. So obviously, bad enough with the health situation, but in terms of recruiting teachers internationally, it's probably the worst possible thing that you could have. It was pretty bad. We really struggled, to be honest, for about a year, and it just didn't look like we were going to get any light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of the country's still closed up until the end of last year. So we're starting to see now some recovery, particularly in Asia, which is most of the main markets that we work with. So we're just hoping that as the year progresses, the second half of 2022, we're expecting face-to-face international recruitment to come back quite strongly in that period of time. But during the pandemic, there was obviously a lot of a move to online teaching, and that tended to kind of keep us going really through that difficult period. So, we were quite lucky in respect that a lot of the online schools were hiring more teachers just to kind of counteract the lack of face-to-face teaching.
So what have you noticed opening up in Asia recently, and what do you predict will be happening in the rest of the year?
So lots of kudos to South Korea. They've just kept going regardless of the pandemic. They've kept on hiring. So that's been really good as well. We're kind of waiting for Japan to reopen their borders fully. At the moment, there's a cap on how many teachers can go in there each month. So the schools that we work with are kind of waiting just for restrictions to ease a little bit. We're seeing some hiring restarting in Taiwan and also Vietnam for later in the year. So they're actually actively recruiting candidates, interviewing candidates at the moment. So that should hopefully go through with some placements towards the end of the year. But I think probably by September, we should hopefully be getting back up to maybe about 80% of capacity by that point. And then next year, we should be getting back to normal, really. But it's obviously with COVID, nobody knows for sure what's going to go on. So we don't want to count our chickens yet.
The program in Vietnam, if I recall, are interviewing for August starts. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. So that is through a private language school in Ho Chi Minh City, and they have roughly about 40 positions for August. So it's a school that we've worked with for many years. Again, very supportive of the teachers. They do provide all the training when the teachers get there, and it would be teaching at different centres around Ho Chi Minh. So working with young learners, teenagers, and adults, and teaching across different contexts like business English, general English, all sorts of different types of English learning
for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. But it is a really good school, and it's a 9-month contract there, so it's not that full year commitment, but you do get obviously a lot of time to kind of get used to living and teaching in Vietnam and get to experience the culture there as well.
My sister actually taught in Ho Chi Minh City and said it's just a really vibrant, modern, hustle bustle kind of city. So I guess it's good for people looking for a big metropolis to teach in.
Definitely. Yeah. I just remember I've only been there once, and I just remember crossing the road was difficult because of all the
8
mopeds.
lanes of mopeds.
Yeah, take your life into your own hands every time you try and cross the road. But no, it was a great city actually. So I'm sure it'd be a good place to teach and to live for a bit of time.
And what about Taiwan? When are people able to start going there?
So we're hoping. I mean, I think the process is a little bit longer because of some of the COVID regulations in Taiwan. So I think the teachers need to be in their home country when they apply for these jobs in Taiwan. But hopefully, 2 or 3 months, that should be the process to get all the documents ready to kind of get out there. So possibly June, July as arrival dates for 2022 would be feasible from what we've heard from the school. I think they have eased the restrictions slightly in Taiwan, and they are beginning to bring people back into the country, but that there is a few more hoops to jump through, just COVID related. So about 3 months, I think, would be the normal application time, let's say from today. So we're looking at, June, July onwards.
Which would be pretty normal for somewhere like Korea or China or something anyway. It's just kind of new for Taiwan, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And, I mean, hopefully they're beginning to kind of just think, let's get back on with it now and just open up again. I guess it must be kind of hurting the tourism and all the rest of it by staying closed to the world. So, I mean, hopefully the countries will all start following suit and opening up, especially Japan, which is one of our big markets. So we keep an eye on the news there.
And a big question is always money, money, money. So what about for teachers who are looking to save some money while they're teaching and traveling overseas? What are some of your top recommendations for places with good salary and benefits?
So I think I would definitely recommend Korea and Taiwan as 2 places to go and save money. Obviously, having taught in both of those countries myself, I know that it's possible to have a good lifestyle and to save money. I think, general living costs in Korea were quite low compared to the UK where I'm from. Things like eating out, shopping, and taxis, travel. I found it all a lot more affordable. Also, Taiwan. If you're kind of eating at these street stalls and really nice healthy food, but you can get things very, very cost effective there. So, and also the rent there was quite good from what I remember. So I remember saving a lot of money in both of those countries. And obviously with Japan, it's somewhere which has got that reputation as being quite expensive. But I think again, if you're just frugal and watch what you're spending, it's possible to save some money. And obviously nowadays with the online teaching as well, you can also kind of do that on the side and get extra top ups if you want to supplement your salary a little bit. And Thailand, when I lived in Thailand, it was just more about the experience and saving money. So I think I spent everything that I made there, but just had a good time as well. So, which is obviously important at the same time, So, but obviously it depends on the individual and if they've got debts to pay, student loans, things like that. So I think if you're in that position, then I'd probably recommend Northeast Asia, places like Korea, Japan, and Taiwan for saving.
Now, you say that Thailand doesn't pay as well, but it's also a very cheap place to live, right? So you can still live a pretty good lifestyle on your meager salary by, East Asia standards.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I remember, I don't know what it's like now because it's been 10 years since I was there, but I remember having noodle soups for, I think it was about 20 baht, which was maybe about 50 cents or something like that. So it's really cheap. A 1-bedroom apartment there was, I think it was about 2,500 baht a month. So yeah, so you can live fairly well there and still enjoy all the local food and culture. So
we do like to ask questions about food and drink from people who have lived abroad. So do you have any food and or drink recommendations from the places you've lived?
Well, I mean, I absolutely love Thai food. So that's got to be, I think it's my favorite cuisine. I just got addicted to the spice and the chilies there. So I think that, the papaya salad was always really good. And I used to like the crispy catfish with a mango salad as well. So I used to love having that. And then in
that
Korea,
one of those fish that are looking at you while you eat it?
yeah. I think that they don't bother taking any of the, kind of, the eye or anything like that off. So, but it was nice at the time. And then in Korea, I used to love the barbecues as well. The kalbi and all the rest of it, and the whole kind of Korean banquet. So that was great. But my wife's a vegan now, so I'm kind of a little bit more limited in what I can have. So it tends to be a lot more vegetarian stuff.
That's fair.
Do you think it's easy for vegetarians to find alternatives in Thailand and Korea? Easier now than before, maybe? Or
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure about Korea, but I think in Thailand there's loads of options, just vegetarian options, which are really plentiful and inexpensive. I think with Korea, it tended to be that if you went out with the local Korean teachers or with the school, it tended to be for a Korean barbecue. And things might have changed since then, but I'm assuming that you can get quite a lot of vegetarian dishes there as well, depending on where you're living. I guess it's probably more prevalent in places like Seoul and Busan with a bit more wider variety than some of the more provincial areas, but hopefully things have evolved there as well.
I guess as an experienced teacher, traveler, recruiter, what would be your sage advice for anyone thinking of getting started with teaching overseas for the first time?
Well, I would just say to you, it's definitely a fantastic thing to do. I think it's such a rewarding experience. Once you get to the country and you get used to it and you make friends there and you get to know the students, it's one of the best things you can do. Now kind of been back in the UK, looking back to those times when I was teaching in Asia, it was just fantastic and really amazing memories, met lots of great people and just had an absolute amazing time. So I think if you're a bit on the fence and you're wondering, is it for me? I would just say go for it. You can stay for 6 months and just see how you get on. A lot of people end up going abroad and staying out there for 10, 15 years, because they love it so much. But I think once you've done it once and you've been to one country, then you get the bug and you think, right, I'm going to go and try somewhere different. And, you just travel around and you get to see so much, so many different things. And then it's almost when you come back home, it's kind of can be a bit tame and almost like reverse culture shock getting back to the, same old routine back in England. But, that's good as well. But I would definitely recommend just giving it a go if you're thinking about teaching abroad. Just do it. And I'm sure you won't look back.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, Phil. It was great having you and really nice to actually see you for the first time after all these years.
Pleasure. Yeah, you guys too. So you're actually real people. That's great to know as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was nice to put a face to the name finally.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, it's been lovely to chat with you, and I hope this has been helpful as well for your students and graduates.
No doubt. Have a great day.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks again to Phil for taking the time to chat with us today. Before we go, do you have any news for people looking to go teach abroad this year, Alex?
Yeah, that was a really wonderful conversation. And it was interesting, Phil talking about getting his start teaching in Thailand. And I think it is interesting how teaching overseas or working overseas or traveling overseas can often just be the start of a new adventure, a new chapter in your life, or just take you in an unexpected direction. So this is a really great time to apply to teach in Thailand if you're interested. Our contacts there are currently looking to fill positions starting in May of this year. And the nice thing about Thailand is they have a range of contract length options from shorter 5 to 6 month contracts, as well as longer 10 to 12 month contract options, and also a wide range of school locations across the country. So there's a lot of variety there. In addition to the world famous cuisine that Phil confirmed today is exceptional. And of course, everybody knows about the amazing beauty and travel opportunities of the region. And with COVID travel restrictions easing, international travel is becoming safer and safer, especially for fully vaccinated travelers. And speaking of other countries in that region to travel to or work in, Vietnam also currently accepting applications for positions to start in August of this year. 9-month positions and 12-month positions are both available through different schools in a number of beautiful and exotic, exciting locations. And Vietnam, also like Thailand, is famous for its amazing cuisine, incredible scenery, incredible travel opportunities in the region. So for those who are interested in exploring Southeast Asia, I think this is a really great time to get your applications ready for Thailand and Vietnam.
Thank you so much, Alex. That's a great update. And I must agree, Thai and Vietnamese foods are some of my favorite cuisines, even though I've never actually been to Vietnam. I love the food from there. It's so good. Thank you to everyone. As always, we will be releasing new episodes every other Wednesday. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe and also share it with your friends. Remember, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, and anywhere you find a good podcast. If you have any great ideas you'd like to hear us discuss in upcoming episodes, please leave them in the comments on YouTube or send them in the comments to Oxford Seminars on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or even email us at teachingabroadpod@oxfordseminars.com. See ya.
Bye.